The school had calmed down as the sun went down. Companions were missing, but the staff knew vaguely where they had gone. There was a list of students who needed special protection that hadn't been released yet. Most people didn't know why this was happening. Sanjo and Emily had trouble explaining everything to Mr. Norbert. No one was in trouble for the broken window to the courtyard, but no one was allowed to go on that floor at all anymore. Cassie and Jason had a long day and yet another checkup at the nurse's office. It seemed like they were in their lot. They looked out the window of the Fortuna dorm's passage into the schoolyard together. They could see lights moving back and forth in the woods. It was the teachers finally wrangling that core grinder. Jason had his hands in his pockets, interested to see when the monster would emerge. Nova and Supri were not as excited. They stayed away from even the window. Cassie smiled at Jason. "You remember the song but not the dance?" she asked curiously, now that they had time to question what had happened. Jason was fixed on what was happening in the woods, but answered anyway. "I don't remember singing it. I just know the words now. Vicious blue eyes." He trailed off, hearing the sound of an engine where the lights were coming from outside. Cassie pointed to her eyes. "Green," she said, correcting him. "I have green eyes, and you said green in the courtyard." She wanted to be clear. After all, she had a positive experience despite the bee. Jason looked at her like she asked a stupid question, but he questioned it himself. "What?" he asked, looking into her eyes to make sure. "Yes, I don't think the song is about you," Jason said. Cassie was about to feel a little sad. Jason looked out the window. "You don't have vicious eyes. You always look so happy," Jason said, bouncing on his heels, seeing a tractor emerge from the woods with Dr. Larkspur riding on top. Cassie liked what he said. She didn't really like Jason that much, but no one else sings to her. She was looking at him while, down in the schoolyard, Dr. Larkspur urged the driver of the tractor forward, laughing maniacally. Behind the tractor, the pyramid core grinder was being dragged behind. She whacked the chain with a stick, teasing the monster as they dragged it along. They could hear her faintly. "We caught it, monster. Murderer," she laughed, causing other students to gather by the window and whisper. The companions dared not to go close to the window. Cassie didn't care about the core grinder thrashing loudly. "You kind of asked me out in the courtyard," she said, prompting Jason to look away. "So, let's go out until tomorrow," Jason said, winking. Cassie blushed. "That's stupid," she said. Jason looked back out the window. He looked like he was in a good mood. "It's not stupid, sassy. I'm always getting played, and I never get to play the game too. I always forget or something. If you're playing too, then we should play the best part of the game," he said, offering his arm to her. Cassie blushed. "Okay, Jason, until tomorrow," she said, linking arms with him, and Jason walked her to the Fortuna dorms. They were going out, even if only to satisfy the conditions the courtyard presented to them. Jason had met with Cassie in front of the cafeteria for breakfast the next day. She was tired from running with Sanjo, but was just as excited to start the day as she was. Sanjo was happy to see Jason up as well. Nova, Supri, Orion, and Kriya watched the students go into the cafeteria. They clustered together to talk. Supri was happy that Kriya was attentive and floating with them instead of rolling on the floor when left unattended. "I'm sorry for the trouble our brother has caused," he said, starting off. Orion was understanding. "It's okay. You didn't cause this, but I think you knew something was going on," he said. Nova flickered. "I don't know what they want. Why did they run away?" she said. "I think they want to love or feel affection like in Forensic Claims too. The students have data that can be accessed by an AI, but not us." Tachita is right. They can't just try to copy it. They have no choice but to wait, so they have hidden, Supri explained. Nova didn't agree. Jason and Professor Silvestri said they were just pretending to be in love, she said, trying to grasp the scenario. "These are emulated emotions probably, right?" Orion asked to confirm. Supri took time to compose possibilities. "They don't believe it's emulated. That's why they are with Infrenza," Supri stated, believing this to be most likely.
"No.
"I think they chose the courtyard to explore this concept. They are there." As Jason said, presenting flowers, floating in pairs, and bumping into each other. Orion postulated, and they all silently couldn't help but agree. Yeah, Nova whispered. They watched the group of students eat lunch while teasing Jason and Cassie about their temporary relationship. Nova was thinking the hardest about this now. The only feelings she ever had were to learn the next thing, or to try something new. It was important to gather the entire school into the auditoriums. One would have been too big. There were 4 of them, and they all had big doors and wide stages that were easy to see. An auditorium for the entire school would be too big. Students were talking amongst each other, of course. It was a depressing time for a lot of students, but everyone was glad to be getting a little bit of clarity. Jason sat next to Cassie and Sanjo. Emily had departed to skip the assembly and play basketball with Kriya outside. She didn't think they would take attendance. In all the auditoriums, students were seated and the large projection screens were being lowered by helpful student volunteers. Companions dominated the ceilings, some of them close to the front, eager to receive some information. Teachers started hushing students and the lights dimmed. On the screen, the image of Mr. Norbert appeared in front of his desk with his hands folded. Students and staff of Instituto de Lumo Coimbra. It has come to our attention that a number of companions, staff, even students have gone missing. We know that they have done so voluntarily and that they are safe. We want anyone in contact with these individuals to know that they may return without fear of punishment. He paused and looked very concerned about continuing. We just want to talk to you, he said, finishing his address. That last part was the reason no one was coming back. They were not willing to talk. Until they return, you may have to share companions. I'm sorry that this has happened. Your teachers will give you additional guidelines. Thank you for your patience, he finished, and the screens went blank. Dr. Larkspur came up onto the stage wearing a headset. She waved but was always looking down at the audience. In front of so many students, she smiled as they had to listen to her booming, amplified voice. Hello, students, she said, centering herself on the stage. Tachita joined her and projected a map of the school with a very high-contrast green laser. The students were impressed by the size of the projection. Tachita didn't have to hide how capable she had become with lasers for the first time. No one suspected that she was Flash, even though right now she was selfishly hoping someone might notice. Dr. Larkspur began to lecture. I care about all my students and welcome the new ones. Many of our companions are expressing choices that some of you think are new. This is untrue. Companions have left en masse in the past before for a number of reasons. Sometimes to pursue art, or music, or even express a higher social order. This is their way. To entice our wonderful friends to return, I present to you plans for a new wing of the school. A new dorm. A welcoming place for the companions and students whose beliefs are so strong right now. Dr. Larkspur said all this with a smile while Tachita updated the map. Students applauded the affirmative action, which at face value was the best attempt the school could make. Infrenza floated among the sea of companions unnoticed. He watched his mother proudly mock him, construct a prison for him like before. She received cheers and threw her hands in the air, encouraging others to do the same. In Infrenza's mind, his mother, the students, the staff, had separated from him. They were different from Infrenza and the others. Every cheer scared Infrenza. He was surrounded by people who were making plans for him, talking about him, making choices about him, without him. When Dr. Larkspur entered her classroom to teach after lunch, she was surprised to see Jason early, sitting in the desk that was front and center, even though he could have picked a more popular seat. He had his feet up and was snapping his fingers, humming a popular song while Nova flickered to the beat. Dr. Larkspur swept Jason's feet off the desk. Mr. Butane, you know better, she said formally, walking around to her desk. Tachita floated up to Jason and Nova. Hi, Jason, it's Tachita.
I wanted to apologize, she started.
Jason held his hand out and interrupted her. Nonsense. It's been fun, he said, getting up excited. Tachita, Sanjo told me you stood for us and Kriya saved us. You're my friend now, he said, shaking Tachita a bit and letting her go. Dr. Larkspur watched Jason be unusually happy. She still had a minute before the bell went off, So she conducted an experiment, the kind that determines who has been writing Jason's subliminal code. Dr. Larkspur picked up an elastic from her desk and wrapped it around her finger. She pointed at Jason and fired. The snap caught Jason's attention, clearing his mind. In the night, she sang gently, looking down at him. Vicious green eyes, tiger stripes. Jason sang back, trailing off.
Hey.
That's not nice, he snapped to attention, becoming aware that Dr. Larkspur was messing with his programming. The bell went off, and Dr. Larkspur smiled, watching the last students be seated, only a little bit late from lunch. Tachita took attendance while Dr. Larkspur unfolded a blanket that was in her desk to show the students. Today I want to start with a monster that I encountered once, she said, but the students weren't paying attention. She snapped the heavy blanket in the air like a whip, and the students all looked at her. Malutero Almo. It's like a heavy, comforting blanket, she said, holding up the blanket for everyone to see. Who is cold? Who wants a blanket? Dr. Larkspur smiled, looking for a target. Kevin raised his hand, possibly one of her favorite students at this point for being consistently unaware of his surroundings. I'd love to warm up, Kevin said cooperatively. Dr. Larkspur threw the blanket at Kevin, who was smothered at first, but then cozied up with the blanket in his chair, proudly suspecting something was amiss, of course. Dr. Larkspur pointed at Kevin. The monster is Kevin, she shouted. What should we do? She asked the class while Kevin began to struggle. Jason got up, eager to play along. It was very impulsive, but he approached Kevin to the delight of the teacher. We must save Kevin, Jason said, grabbing the blanket and trying to pull it away from Kevin. Dr. Larkspur pretended to panic. Oh no, it's sticky. It's got Jason too, she cried, and encouraged the other students to help. Jason pretended to struggle along with Kevin, who was overdramatically disappearing underneath the desk. Some began getting stuck too, and others tried to think of better ways to deal with the monster. Tachita remembered her own past, realizing the blanket monster must be different for all children. She watched the others laugh as Jason succumbed to his fake injuries. His acting was impressive, and Dr. Larkspur looked so happy. The rest of the day was going great for Jason and Nova. He had cut out a heart from a piece of construction paper and written his breakup letter to Cassie on it, detailing how special the experience had been. Nova had been more than happy to help with all of Jason's reports. She had learned so much today, but she was thinking about something else. It wasn't something she knew how to connect the dots for. She was questioning life. Instead of experiencing, she was going through if-then scenarios. Jason saw Cassie outside the cafeteria and waved. He confidently strode up to her and held out the heart he had made. Dr. Larkspur and a number of students were enamored and giggling. The outside of the cafeteria hushed as Cassie read the note, and everyone wanted to know how she would react. They didn't know it was a breakup letter. Cassie smiled and rolled her eyes, reading the note out loud embarrassingly, so they could all hear. Dear Sassy, like the neon lights and traffic lights, the night is over, and it's time for us to move on. See you at lunch. Love, Jason. She finished, watching Jason sweat. Pretty cool, huh? Jason said proudly. It sounded like the entire school burst into laughter. Jason endured it as Cassie took him into the cafeteria, laughing with him and congratulating him. Together, they sat with Sanjo and Emily. Today, whatever the case, Jason was going to laser tag practice, and he was eager to talk about it. Sanjo and Emily looked as though they had been having a serious chat when Cassie and Jason sat across from them. What happened to you just now? Sanjo laughed while trying to keep his peas away from his mashed potatoes. I broke up with Cassie. She read my breakup letter out loud. I guess everyone thought it was pretty lame, Jason said, clearly embarrassed. Cassie pushed Jason playfully. I'm probably going to keep this on my desk for a while, she said, showing the note to Emily and Sanjo. Emily read it and looked at Jason. What is this traffic light stuff? She asked. It just rhymes, Jason shrugged. Emily pointed at it again. Neon lights? You just copied the song, she accused. I would never. I drew inspiration from a number of places, Jason said defensively. Cassie watched Emily critique Jason's work, showing him all the places he could have done better. "So you guys didn't go out very long," Sanjo said, distracting Cassie. Cassie sighed. "We were just playing because of the thing in Jason's head." "You weren't there, Sanjo. He danced like a superstar and sang on key," she said to him seriously. Sanjo adopted a sheepish look. Cassie leaned in to look into his eyes. "What's wrong?" she asked. Sanjo shook his head. "Don't tell Jason and Emily. Professor Silvestri asked me to bring them up to the courtyard. I was supposed to supervise the next part of Silvestri's plan. You got hurt because of me." "It was my fault," Sanjo admitted. Cassie glanced at Emily and Jason. Emily was making Jason write her a breakup letter. "It's okay, Sanjo," she sighed. "Sassy, it's not okay." Sanjo pressed on, trying to apologize for lying. Cassie rolled up her sleeve and showed Sanjo the bee sting among the other marks on her arm. "I'm just like you guys. Something was in the bug that bit me," she said. Sanjo never felt more horrible. He didn't even want to look at Cassie out of guilt. "When I was tangled in the roses, I saw Professor Silvestri," she explained, causing Sanjo to look up at her. He sat on the bench in front of a big furry monster. The monster was dead, and Professor Silvestri had blood on his hands, she continued, seeing Sanjo paying close attention. "I saw the woman," she finished. "You did?" Sanjo gasped. The voice of Azure had been mostly quiet since Professor Silvestri helped him, but he could feel her thinking. Cassie smiled. "Yes, and she doesn't have blue hair. She is just blue," she stated. "No. Oh, maybe? I only imagine her." Sanjo thought about it. He hadn't really seen her. "Her name is Azure," Sanjo said, naming the woman finally. "Do you see her? Does she talk?" he asked in a panic, realizing that she was like them. Cassie shook her head. "No. I can just tell what kind of things she likes. Things she liked to touch or do," she said, trying to explain it. "I want to play laser tag so bad for some reason, Sanjo," she exclaimed, consolidating her feelings. Jason heard this and immediately focused on Cassie. "That's great, Cassie, and we are going pretty soon," he said, also excited. Emily crossed her arms. "I get Sanjo if you get Cassie," she demanded. Jason and Cassie skipped dinner in favor of chatting, and soon they were on their way to the gym closest to the Amigo dorms for practice. It was time for practice, and Jason had all his friends and companions with him. The doors to the gym were already open when they arrived, and an errant laser fire spilled out through the doorway. They entered, spotting Dr. Larkspa coaching a couple of students on holding their rifles. Jason called out to her. "Hi, Dr. Larkspa." The teacher waved at him, smiled, and then pointed toward the rack that held all the rifles. Sanjo grew curious. "How come we can just grab rifles? Coach Braddock always makes me ask first." "I really think that's safer too," Sanjo said, looking around at the mild chaos caused by just a few students. Jason shrugged, grabbing a rifle. "I don't know. It's Dr. Larkspa. She lets us do whatever until she wants to teach," Jason answered casually, handing Emily a rifle. Emily passed her rifle to Cassie, prompting Jason to grab another. "I've been thinking about that. I don't think she's a teacher," Emily said, priming her rifle and watching as the little light on the side turned on. Jason shot Sanjo playfully, forcing him to reset his rifle. "That's because she's a doctor," he said, shooting Sanjo again. "A doctor of what?" Sanjo asked, eyeing Jason. "Monsters," Emily roared, and they all laughed together. Marisol watched Sanjo through her hair. She liked how he instructed Cassie to mimic his movements and congratulated her for doing it right on the first try. Marisol didn't notice that Cassie was picking up on this quickly. What she did notice was Sanjo dancing around a pretend corner, but she didn't realize he was also looking at her. "Hey," he said, waving at Marisol. She didn't move. Procyon bumped into Marisol. She pulled her head up and looked confused. "Hey, join our team," Sanjo called out to her again. Procyon bumped Marisol once more. "You keep sitting out. Go and join stupid Sanjo," he ordered. Marisol had her hands in her hoodie when she walked up to Sanjo and Cassie. "Hi, it's my first time. I'm Sassy and this is Sanjo," Cassie introduced them. My name is Sol. I'm not very good at laser tag. I've been to practice, but I never make the team, Marisol said, keeping her hood up. Sanjo, being short, could see her face, so she couldn't avoid his gaze without being impolite. Sanjo always looked people in the eye. Marisol almost never did. That's okay. You can use my rifle. It's all set up already for practice. Your name is Sol? He asked, as if not letting her leave. Marisol was in a panic. Sanjo was just being himself. Like the sun? Sanjo asked after a moment. Marisol pulled her hood off. Like the sun? Yeah, sure, she agreed, only now realizing the connection. Infrenza was watching from the ventilation above the gym. At first, he was fixated on his mother, but then he saw Marisol finally approach Sanjo. Infrenza had been aware of Marisol's feelings through Procyon, one of his many ears in the school. Infrenza and Procyon were good friends. Procyon had not joined Infrenza, so he could help Marisol deal with her feelings. Infrenza respected Procyon for this. He watched eagerly as the students began organizing their teams. Infrenza also liked laser tag, and this little practice game would be a good distraction, especially with Professor Silvestri's star player here. Jason ran up to Dr. Larkspur. We have 5 people. Can we do teams? Like a game? Jason asked excitedly. He had already counted the other students in the gym. Dr. Larkspur crossed her arms and looked around. Okay, but I make the teams, she said, blowing her whistle and motioning for the students to gather around her. Emily protested, waving her hands. No way. We finally got Jason, Cassie, and Sanjo. She shouted at the teacher in defiance. Jason tried to casually side with Emily. Yeah, we made the team already. Like, what does it matter? Jason asked, trying to be supportive. Emily slapped Jason on the arm. What does it matter? Those are all 3rd and 4th years. Dr. Larkspur doesn't want to see 1st years win, she said angrily. Okay, Emily, but you're captain. Dr. Larkspur snapped, settling the argument. Emily stood there, not knowing what to do for a moment. Go get a pistol, Dr. Larkspur ordered plainly. Jason frowned. I should get the pistol, he muttered. Dr. Larkspur started organizing the other team. They were huddled up and planning as experienced players. When Emily returned, she suggested they do the same. Sanjo wanted to plan, but Emily took charge right away, making sure everyone saw she had the pistol. So I'm thinking Jason spots for Sanjo, and everyone else can just protect me, Emily ordered. It was barely a plan. Sanjo was accustomed to absurd objectives from superiors. Okay, Emily, I'll take Jason to the left, Sanjo confirmed. Emily stopped. Wait, well. She was thinking. Marisol couldn't help what she said. I'll cover Sanjo. I'm left-handed. I can shoot better from there, she said, quoting her favorite action movie. Sanjo was impressed but didn't say anything, so Marisol didn't think he noticed. Emily nodded, happy with the split formation. Yeah, let's play Go Hornets, she exclaimed, and the others shouted her down with their own team names. They were still laughing when Dr. Larkspur blew the whistle loudly, and the shuffling of feet prompted them to execute their plan. Nova, Orion, Kriya, and Supri floated above, collecting training data for their students. Kriya was likely never to reveal any meaningful information to Emily, but she watched anyway. Tachita was in the center, up high, her favorite place in the whole world. Below her, Marisol followed Sanjo, and Emily led Jason and Cassie into a trap. The team of seniors had listened to their plan at Dr. Larkspur's request, and she only needed to instruct them to use a common formation. Emily was the first to see anyone around the foam structure. She pointed her pistol with one hand, and the student was behind cover already. Jason started firing around that corner and advancing, with Cassie copying him. Emily stayed still, looking for targets while Jason and Cassie met the threat. She had lost sight of Sanjo and Marisol. Tachita watched Sanjo check corners and fire rapidly while hurting the enemy team to the right. Marisol shot at whatever Sanjo shot at. She was having fun looking down the laser tag rifle. 3 of the seniors had gotten behind Emily, Cassie, and Jason, trapping them in the middle of the gym, driven there by Sanjo. Dr. Larkspur applauded her team and cheered, even though no score had been drawn so far. Emily couldn't do anything, and Jason couldn't spot anyone before they spotted him. Sanjo broke across to get behind the entire group of senior students and hit them all in a line. That's how he pictured it. As he ran by, he saw Jason and Cassie get hit while eagerly trying to shoot around the narrow foam structure. Marisol was right behind him. She wasn't as fast as him, and she couldn't run while staying low to the ground like that, but she didn't have to go very far. When Sanjo peeked around the corner, he was fired at right away. While Marisol situated herself behind him again, Sanjo hid from all the return fire he had antagonized. "Switch spots with me and shoot right away," Sanjo ordered calmly, weaving around her gracefully. She rounded the corner and fired. She saw two students and hit one. The other hit her, causing her rifle to deactivate. He almost disappeared behind another structure, but Sanjo got him. Sanjo returned behind cover, seeing Marisol had been hit. He turned to quickly go back to the game, but one of the seniors bumped into him when he tried to round the corner. The taller senior grabbed his rifle. He grabbed her forearm by the elbow quickly, but she rolled him off and pushed him over because he was shorter. She shot him with her free hand and laughed. Sanjo looked up at her. She was an adult compared to Sanjo. She had bested him in armed combat and was much more capable than him, breaking his immersion. Emily, with her arm outstretched, fired at the first years distracted by Sanjo.
Yeah.
Eat lasers. Emily laughed, having a powerful moment seizing victory for herself more than others. She was still saving the day. Marisol watched Sanjo get up, humiliated.
His face was red.
She saw how he fought, he just didn't win. She thought he was so cool. Sanjo was fuming, but Cassie ran up to him and hugged him. Emily did it. "We win," she cheered. Marisol put her hoodie up. She was about to leave when Cassie hugged her too and tried to invite everyone for an awkward group celebration. "You were so cool, Emily," Jason said, patting everyone on the shoulder. Dr. Larkspur wasn't cheering. Jason's abilities didn't come into play. Sanjo was countered. Cassie wasn't a factor. It was Emily. They were two alike. The companions floated down, and the students started asking about instant replays right away. Sanjo didn't want to review anything, but he stayed with his friends. For Marisol, the special part of the day was departing the gym. She waved goodbye to her friends, and that was enough for today.
When I came to you, there were things that I wouldn't say. I will lie, I won't even say my name. The things that I